In the bustling city of Lagos lived Mr. Tunde, a man everyone admired. He was a respected banker, well-dressed, eloquent, and known for being generous in his community. To outsiders, he looked like the perfect husband and father. He had a beautiful wife, Funk, and 3 lovely children who adored him. But behind the polished image, Tund had a hidden life. Despite his wife's loyalty, he entertained multiple women outside his marriage. It started with harmless flirtations at the office, then business trips that turned into hotel escapades, and soon he was juggling 3 different women in secret. At first, he justified it to himself. I can provide for my wife and children. Nothing will go wrong, but as time went on, the cost of his choices began to unfold in painful ways. First was the emotional damage. Funk noticed the change first. Her once loving husband no longer had time for her. He came home late, avoided conversations, and often picked fights over little things. When she asked questions, he snapped, "Why are you monitoring me? Don't I provide for this family?" Her heart grew heavy. She felt unloved, rejected, and betrayed, though she had no concrete proof yet. The children, especially their eldest daughter, began to notice the constant tension at home. She once asked her mother, "Mummy, why doesn't Daddy laugh with us anymore?" Those words pierced Funk like a sword. The emotional warmth in the home was slowly dying, replaced with silence and suspicion. Then there was the financial strain. Maintaining multiple women was costly. Tund began spending lavishly on his mistresses, expensive wigs, foreign trips, new phones, rent for apartments. Slowly, he diverted money away from his family. School fees became delayed, household needs were neglected, and Funk found herself constantly borrowing from friends to keep the home running. Meanwhile, Tund's children wore worn-out shoes while strangers enjoyed their father's wealth. The irony was glaring. The man who once prided himself as a provider could no longer sustain his own household because of his double life. Worse still were the spiritual consequences. Raised in a Christian home, Tund once prayed with his family every morning. But as his affairs deepened, his spiritual life collapsed. He stopped going to church regularly and dismissed his wife's attempts to pray together. Funk, however, continued to cry to God in secret. She often knelt at night, weeping, "Lord, restore my husband. Don't let the devil destroy this family." But the more she prayed, the more Tund drifted. Spiritually, he became restless. Peace left his heart. He had constant nightmares, lived in paranoia, and began to fear exposure. Then came the psychological effects on the children. Children are sharper than many parents realize. Tund's son began to withdraw, performing poorly in school because of the constant arguments at home. His daughter became angry and resentful toward men, vowing never to trust them. The family bond weakened. Family dinners became cold and quiet. Instead of growing up in a loving environment, the children grew up with confusion, insecurity, and emotional scars that would affect their future relationships. And so the secret couldn't stay hidden forever. One of Tund's mistresses became pregnant and demanded marriage. When Tund refused, she exposed everything. She showed Funk messages, bank transfers, and even pictures. The shock nearly broke Funk. Years of suspicion turned into painful reality. She felt humiliated, betrayed, and heartbroken. The scandal spread to Tund's workplace and church. His image was shattered. Friends who once envied him shook their heads in disappointment. Worse, his children could no longer respect him. They avoided him, resented him, and never looked at him the same way again. Years later, when Tund lost his job and his health began to fail, the mistresses he once lavished money on abandoned him. They had drained his pockets and moved on to other men. It was Funk, the same woman he betrayed, who still stood by him, though her heart had been scarred forever. The children, now grown, supported their mother but remained distant from their father. They loved him, but they could never fully forgive the pain his actions caused. Friends, infidelity is not just a private sin. It destroys the spiritual peace, emotional bond, financial stability, and psychological well-being of the entire family. Spiritually, it separates a man from God and invites guilt and unrest. Emotionally, it crushes the heart of the faithful spouse. Financially, it drains resources meant for the home. Psychologically, it damages children, leaving scars that may last a lifetime. No matter how tempting it seems, the cost of having multiple partners as a married man is far greater than the pleasure it brings.